Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a video on a topic that I get asked quite a bit because a lot of people know that I work with Seaguar Fishing Line, and they've got a lot of different lines in their overall product line of fluorocarbon, and sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, you know, which one you need to choose for what situation. So I wanted to tackle two of the more popular options in the Seaguar line, which is InvisX and AbrazX. And so we're going to talk about the differences between those two different lines. But before we get into comparing those two lines, I kind of wanted to preempt that by talking a little bit about my history using Seaguar line. So back in 2007, I was going to college, and fluorocarbon became real popular. Everybody was talking about fluorocarbon because of its invisible characteristics, and also, you know, its overall strength and some other qualities that make it well suited for bass fishing. And because I wanted to jump in on that train, I ended up looking at fluorocarbon lines, and of course I chose Seaguar to begin with because they were the first company to come out with fluorocarbon. It originated with Seaguar, and so I chose probably Seaguar Red Label, I think, is what I started out with, because that was the most inexpensive in their product line, and since I was going to college, I was definitely on a budget. So started out with Red Label, but I also fished InvisX quite a bit back in the day, and so I've loved and trusted Seaguar lines for many years, and so I'm really happy to be working with them the last couple of years. But one of the reasons why I love Seaguar so much, and there's a reason why I'm kind of mentioning these things, but one of the reasons why I love Seaguar and so many people trust Seaguar fishing lines is the fact that they are the only fluorocarbon manufacturer that also has their own resin. So they actually create all of their fishing line, all their fluorocarbon lines from their own resins, which is, you know, unheard of anywhere else. And what they can do with fishing line, with fluorocarbon line, because they're using their own resins, is they can create fishing lines that really have different characteristics to fit different situations. So that's why you see so many different lines on their website, because they have the ability to really fine-tune these fishing lines. So that's really just important to mention, because that kind of has to do with the different qualities of these lines. So anyways, let's start off with InvisX. InvisX is kind of one of the original lines that I started using, as I mentioned before. This line right here is a really good all-around line. So this is more of a general purpose line. But one thing I will mention is it says right here on the label, soft and easy to cast. Which means it's a very low memory line. It's very soft and supple, and so it's very well suited as a main line on spinning gear. You know, the lighter sizes like 6, 8, 10 pound test work very well as the main line on spinning gear. Now, nowadays, I really don't use a main line of fluorocarbon on my spinning gear that much. I'll use a 20 pound test Seaguar Smackdown braid as my main line, and then attach a gold label fluorocarbon leader to that. So I've kind of got away from using InvisX as my main spinning rod line or spinning reel line, but there's a lot of people out there that still really like to use a main line of fluorocarbon. And if you're looking for a line that is still budget friendly, but is very easy to cast and has low memory, InvisX works really well. So that's one of the key things that InvisX excels at. And of course, you've also got lines like Tatsu, which is the king of the castle, the top of the heap. And that one also works very well as a main line on spinning gear, but this one right here, InvisX, is going to be a little bit less expensive. So and then again, as I mentioned before, really good all-around line. So if you're looking for one line that can do a lot of things pretty well, InvisX is a really good choice for both spinning and bait casting. All right, so let's talk about AbrazX. AbrazX, you know, this is where those you know, being able to manipulate those resins comes into play that I mentioned before, because AbrazX is a line that Seaguar created for one purpose, and that is to be able to withstand the abuse of fishing around sharp cover. You know, anything like rocks, docks, brush, laydowns, anything that's got a lot of sharp edges to it that can really damage your fluorocarbon line. That's the type of situation that Seaguar created AbrazX for. So they took their resins and they created a line that is not as soft and supple as InvisX, but if you're in fishing, you know, situations where you're flipping and pitching around hard cover, or you're dragging something on the bottom and just constantly making contact with you know, rocks and shell on the bottom, AbrazX is going to be the best choice. So much less supple and manageable than InvisX, but in this type of situations where you're power fishing and using this line around you know, heavy cover, that's really not a big issue at all. So this is my favorite line for most of my power fishing. You know, if I'm throwing a shell diving crankbait around riprap, or you know, throwing a buzz bait around, you know, bushes or anything like that, flipping and pitching. Anything where I'm contacting, you know, hard objects, hard cover, AbrazX is going to be the choice. So that is the general breakdown of these two lines from Seaguar. Of course, you can find both of them at 44tackle.com. And if you have any questions, of course, drop a comment below, you know, and I'd be happy to answer it. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water.